Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident Podcast. It is a weekly chat about socially conscious topics impacting the culture. On this episode, we are joined by Sambaza, host and creator of the Sambaza Podcast.
I got like 3 healthcare insurances, but even like for me and my wife to get, counseling or something like that, you pick up the phone, you go get on the app, get on the Blue Cross app or any app, and how hard is it to get, to get a counselor? You know what I mean? It's like a 6, 7, 8 month wait list. It's crazy.
Really? Okay.
It's crazy to think that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like in California, for instance, in the United States in general, our prison system is the number 1 provider of mental health care treatment in our nation. So just think about that. Let that sit for a minute. Yeah, we could do better for sure. We have enough money, enough resources, and we could definitely do better.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident Podcast. I am your host, Jen, and welcome. We are happy to have one of our most favorite co-hosts, Sambaza, host and creator of the Sambaza Podcast. He is a 2-time nominee for the Best African Diasporan Podcast by the APVA, and he is from the Republic of Kenya in East Africa. He also has been a presenter at the Afros Audio Podcast Festival discussing Pan-Africanism, and he will be an ambassador for the 2024 Afros and Audio Podcast Festival. Hey, Sambaza.
Hey, what's up, Jen? How you doing?
Pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah, glad to be here. And I'm excited about our show today. We have another great guest for you guys. Thank you for joining on a different day for the week. But yeah, glad to be here. Any thoughts about our show today?
Interesting show that we're gonna have today.
Mm-hmm.
Our guest has a vast amount of knowledge in systems here in the US, and I'm really ready to hear what he has to say.
For sure. Yeah, lately we've been doing a closer look at some things that you guys may have noticed. We've been taking we take a look at what's going on with the Kenya movement. We've been taking a look at Juneteenth as a holiday. So today we want to take a look at the prison system through the eyes of someone who's actually has some experience with it. And he's going to share what that was like and what he's doing now. And then, this definitely is a great moment that, good conversation to have in the community, as we may have people going through the same thing and maybe can avoid, some of these types of things as they come up. So we will move on to introduce our guests. So we are honored to introduce our next guest. After spending over a decade incarcerated, he transformed his life and became a powerful advocate and activist for justice, voting rights, and prison reform. His journey from prison to advocacy is a testament to resilience, determination, and the power of personal change. So today he is making significant strides in advocating for fair treatment within the justice system and empowering others to exercise their voting rights. So very excited to bring to the stage an inspiring story to explore his tireless work, Mr. Hockley, Jay DeAndre. Welcome.
Hey, how y'all doing? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And Jay has actually been on the show before. This is his 3rd time, actually. So thank you for coming back and being with us today.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me. Appreciate the informative conversations, as well as just, just diving into issues that are, passionate to me. So
for sure.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Definitely. So, as we mentioned in the intro, Dre has spent in the past, Jay spent over a decade in prison. So, very serious stuff. And so we're going to get into that conversation. Sambaza.
Oh, sure. So, Jay, we're going to start off by asking, can you describe how the transition from prison back into society has been for you? And has your perspective on life changed since your incarceration?
Yeah, so definitely. So the transition from prison to society as a returning citizen, it is not a good one. I mean, it's one where it's designed for folks to fail. There is little to no resources, and in fact, a lot of probation and parole officers kind of feel like it's their duty or job to return you back to the system. Oftentimes, when you're in R&R, getting ready to leave out, they'll tell you, "Hey, I'll see you later," or "You'll be back," because they want to implant in your head that you're going to fail, and that's the honest truth. Personally, my transition was successful, and had a lot of successes there, and a lot of things that a lot of other people in my position never see. Thankfully, though, because of community and community support. Without community, definitely would not have had that experience. So I'm grateful for community and family and folks who poured into me and provided those lifelines, as well as the pre-work that I did before I got out, which made my transition a lot easier as well. So like getting a certificate and welding, and I had to force that because the system is not designed for you to be that successful and actually have that, contrary to popular belief. So forcing that vocational training by way of like appeals and grievances and stuff like that, and administrative action, and doing other things, as well as starting my college education and earning 3 associate's degrees. Teaching myself to to properly read and write. I think that put me on the best foot forward. And then again, having community. So of course, community is the most important. Without community, definitely wouldn't have had that success in transition.
Definitely. And Jay, how old were you when you went in?
Yeah, so when I was incarcerated, I was 20.
Okay.
And I was 20. So I was, still young, definitely considered like a youth offender in California. And then when I paroled, I was 31, I believe. So 31 or 32, 31 and a half, I believe. So yeah, almost 32. And, I grew up, in there, unfortunately. But the whole time I was in there, I was kind of the mindset that I wasn't going to let it define me or break me. And wasn't going to let it transition me into like a racist person or something like that. That tends to be like the negative stereotypes that come from folks who, have experienced that form of trauma and state violence.
Right. And then how did your time in prison shape your views on the criminal justice system? You just mentioned that it's kind of designed for you to fail. It's not, there's not so many opportunities or plans to make sure that people don't reoffend or in return. So like you said, you actually were successful in your experience, which, we're glad for that. So, how did you, but looking at the system, going through that, what are your views on it, having experienced that?
Yeah, so I mean, the system is one that causes harm. It's one that makes situations worse, and it's one that does not provide a system or a platform for folks to actually right the wrongs that they've done, and for folks to repair the harm that they caused. And it makes things a lot worse. And by design, it's made to perpetuate like the violence, the harm, the trauma, and to multiply it. You get what I'm saying? So like in California, in most cases, like if you cause harm to someone, you can't even reach out to that person to apologize or to try to make things right, or to try and come to an understanding, to help that person understand why you may have done whatever you've done, or to help them find actual closure, find actual support and relief, and to just to seek that form of restorative justice, and to, have that conversation and just try to right your wrong. In fact, if you do, you'll also face consequences in custody for doing that. So
if you do, okay, so
yeah. And it's also, like I said, it's just the correctional staff and stuff like that. They perpetuate the violence. They encourage it. They like it because oftentimes they get paid more money. They get hazard pay when the violence is happening. And then, there are, countless stories even online, other places that I've seen in person where, folks, have security concerns and stuff like that. And the staff, do not protect them. They do not try to protect them. and oftentimes encourage the violence and perpetuate it. So it's and I'm not saying that to just not talk law enforcement or any correctional staff in particular, but that's just the um, culture, as we would say, and
Right.
that's just the day to day. And oftentimes, when you do have good correctional officers who go against the culture, they're like the good officers on the streets who go against the culture. You know, oftentimes they're put out, they're disciplined, they're removed and stuff like that. But you know, it's a money making machine. One of the primary drivers of income for certain people in certain demographics in certain areas. And so that's what they rely on, is the prison system to be functioning at proper capacity in order to you know, have those 401ks, those benefits, those cars and houses and stuff. And that's what it is.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Sambaza.
Yeah, and so when you talk about the issues and you say that things keep repeating themselves, and I think we had a conversation with Jen, and I told her that I'd gone to a plantation a couple of months ago, and they were explaining the system, the prison system, and it looked like that was what it was. It was more like labor, to get people to work for free. That was one of the major issues at that time, because there was no labor, and they needed to get labor to have to have something to make them earn money, right? And it was in New Orleans, and they talked about Angola, Angola being one of the biggest and most profitable at one time. Uh, it's still going on now, but it's changed. It's just moved with the times.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at everything that's going on, based on your experience, what are the most urgent issues that need to be addressed in the current prison system?
Yeah, so like absolutely, like inmate leasing definitely is the driver of the prison system. That's when we've seen our prison system expand. A lot of folks speak about mass incarceration, and that's absolutely the history of it. A lot of people, you know, don't know or fail to take into account is once, you know, chattel slavery was literally ended in America. That's when you see the prison boom and the expansion, and it's for a reason. It's exactly what you mentioned. It's um, to keep folks in a broken state and to have to work and provide services and stuff for free. And then from that, I think it evolved to, you know, what we see now, where it's certain demographics across, like for instance, my state being, you know, the biggest in America, most profitable in America, at times the third to the fifth largest economy in the world. Um, you know, certain folks in certain regions, that's the only industry that they have. Like for instance, where I live at in California, uh, there's 5 prisons, well, more actually, but there's about like 5 state prisons in this area in particular, not including the private ones, not including everything else. And a lot of my neighbors and stuff, a lot of folks around me, like that's what they have to depend on, you know, for, uh, you know, income and wealth. But definitely what needs to change with the prison system is the whole system. A lot of folks, you know, speak about, you know, the bad things or what they perceive to be bad things, or why it's operating uh, under constitutional standards, why the violence happens, why there are so many like suicides, so many deaths, so many um, other um, you know, things that take place, and um, you know, so many families who are turned away and treated horribly, so many um, officers who retire with, you know, um, PTSD, stress, harm, and everything else, experiences stuff. It's not because the system is broken, it's because it's operating as it was designed, right? It's designed to operate this way. It's designed to create harm and distance. That's why the gates are up. That's why the barbed wire is up. It's not to keep people in, it's to keep people out. And that's why they're built far away from society. It's the out of, you know, out of sight, out of mind thing. That's why, you know, when folks come to visit, you know, they're treated bad and strip searched and, you know, done like this to turn them away. I mean, we know how we're treated at airports, right? We go to catch a flight, and that's one of the safest environments you can be in. And so you translate that to a prison room, you have the same technology there. At least I know we do in California. We have the airport, same airport scanners from LAX and Burbank and everywhere else. San Francisco International is in our prison visiting rooms. Folks not to be treated horribly. Same process. You take off this, take off that, put it to the metal detector, step in this. There you go, man. Have a good day. Enjoy your family. but it's not like that, right? And it's by
Right.
design. And that's just the the small portions of it. That's not even talking about the human interaction. Like I've spoken before in this podcast with Jim, where I spoke about um, certain officers who were setting up one of my friends to be assaulted by going in a particular dorm room and disturbing all the incarcerated folks' property and treating their family photos and stuff horribly and doing all these things because they wanted, and they told him this is all happening because of him, because they wanted, those guys to jump on him. But luckily, because of community, the person of the other race who was in charge there and who was considered to be like the elder and respected person, spoke to him and was like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, why is this? Like, what's up? And they had a conversation. He explained that, the police thought he had assaulted a cop. So that was their response. And luckily, those incarcerated people, because of community, decided that, hey, we're not going to do the cops' dirty work. We're not going to do
Right.
that. And, but those occasions aren't always the case. You know what I mean? Like, we have a saying that no one's bigger than the system. And so, that's the system and that's the structure, and that's just perpetuated by the government. And, for a number of different reasons, including to keep people in check, broken, and in a humble state to work. Fortunately, through the legislature, some of our colleagues just passed a bill that's going to the voters, going to be a ballot, a constitutional amendment that would ban involuntary servitude in California. So yeah, slavery is still legal in California. In November on the 5th, or I believe it's the 4th this year, sorry, voters will have a chance to change that. So
Okay.
it doesn't address wages, it doesn't address minimum wage or nothing like that, but it just basically says that involuntary servitude is wrong and we stand against it. And it gives the Department of Corrections the option and ability to develop a volunteer program for folks to work and have them to figure it out. Because there's plenty of people who want to work, but forcing people to, and, giving them new charges and loss of time and stuff like that. And other forms of harm is wrong, for doing the job that they're not properly paid to do.
Okay. And then I know, like, when you were on before, we had a conversation about abolitionism. Am I saying that? And so I wanted to, have you speak on that concept for some people who may not know, what that means.
Yeah. So prison abolition, or abolition in general, encompasses a lot of things. It's a very detailed and time-consuming conversation. But just like as a shorthanded definition, basically an abolitionist is a person who believes in supporting evidence-based solutions to our societal problems. And also we believe in responding with care instead of other forms of harm in order to correct harm. So for instance, like abolitionists, when we look at the so-called like retail theft, crime wave and stuff like that, that's not actually real. You look at statistics and you see that the crime is actually down across the nation, especially violent crimes against people that actually, matter and cause harm. It's down and down, by a good percentage points. But you turn on the news and everywhere you see this crime wave is out of control. And this from the news and from certain politicians and stuff like that. So like what an abolitionist standpoint would say is like, well, instead of investing $9 billion into giving cops more money to continue to do a bad job at, stopping crime and give the retailers, another $2 billion to do whatever and enhance this and put all this money into that, what the abolitionist standpoint would be was, well, hey, let's invest $9 billion into jobs, into education, into substance use disorder treatment, into things that will actually directly affect those actions instead of just pouring the same money into the same harmful systems that don't respond well to crime, as they call it, our socioeconomic woes. So that would be the abolitionist perspective on that.
Okay.
So if I'm to understand right, it's trying to figure out the root cause problems of what causes the theft and what causes
The issues.
the issues, and then pump money into those factors to switch such that there'll be no reason for somebody to try and
Yes.
commit crime.
Yeah, so not just with crimes, with everything. So we believe there's accountability outside of harms in prison. So I mean, outside of prison and jail. So, for instance, like in African culture, communities, everything. Same thing with Mexican Hispanic culture. Same thing with with other cultures. And we believe that there's still can be accountability, for actions outside of prison and jails. Because the only thing that prison and jails does is make it worse. And when their person returns, they're in a worse state than what they were when they went in most cases, and that's what it's designed to do. And the people who come out that are better, it's usually outliers and anecdotal to what the major statistic is. So it's not just with money. That was just the example. I mean, of course, like I'm not like a capitalist or anything, but what we believe in is again is responding to the root cause of issues, all issues, socioeconomic issues, social issues, interpersonal issues, harms, responding well to address the root cause instead of responding in like the reformist way, which is just basically pumping more money into the systems that's already there that doesn't respond well to that. So just believing in evidence-based solutions and supporting evidence-based solutions, because oftentimes evidence-based solutions is the harder conversation. It's the harder thing to do. It's a lot harder than just say, oh yeah, crime's up. Let's sign the 1994 crime bill, and we're going to put 10,000 more cops on the streets and reduce rights and empower DAs to do more, and reduce the public defender's office and that's going to address crime. No, it doesn't address crime, because when folks are in these positions, what they're looking at is how am I going to eat tonight, are dealing with some type of substance use, and they're thinking about how can they get them, try to get well, just different factors. They're not saying, okay, I'm gonna go and my intention is to go do a robbery. How much time am I going to get for that? Am I going to get a proper defense? They're not looking at that. They're just trying to, in most cases at least, survive or make it to the next day. So addressing the root cause of issues in general, and that's just within our community and society. We believe that there can again be accountability when harms are caused, because inevitably we are humans, so we will, unfortunately, harm each other. And when those harms are caused, as a community, we could address them and repair those harms and respond to those harms instead of just saying, "Oh, we're going to put you out on the island." In a worse environment where folks are scared to communicate and interact with each other, who are all facing trauma on a day-to-day basis and fear for their life, and not going to let you talk to the person that you harmed or do anything to respond to that and restore that. And then when that's all done after 4 or 5 years, then we're going to kick you out without a job, without any resources, without any way to eat, or even to ride back to your community, which you have to go back to. And that's it. It's like to any person working with, common sense, clearly that, wouldn't be a good recipe for success. And ultimately, we should all care, because 90% of the people who are incarcerated will eventually return back to their communities. And so we want to return good neighbors. We want to return good neighbors. We want to repair harms. I'm sure most of us are parents. I got 4 kids. We want our children to be safe. We want our wives and sisters to be safe, our brothers to be safe. And we want to all live in a place where we feel like we can go outside and just enjoy things. And I think we can. I think we do live in that environment now, but it could be way better. Like I said, you wouldn't see that by turning on the news, but they sensationalize things for a reason.
True.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Following up, so are y'all? Well, y'all is the abolitionist movement looking at classifying some of those crimes that are being committed? Because when you say crime and you want to sustain a better peaceful environment to the people around you, there's some crimes that people would repeat them, like say for example serial killers, or some things like somebody who would be, I'll take serial killing for example. And how are we going to, when you look at such instances, how do you figure it out to say that, okay, this will be one of those issues that they will need to go into incarceration? And I think at that point you are tinkering on being racially biased. Is it racially biased? But there's going to be some bias, some discrimination there, which puts
By
you at test by saying, okay, say for example,
mm.
everyone who does a crime has to go to jail, and we're trying to figure out how to stop it, right? So
Are
we
you talking
invest
about like
this.
are you talking about like, for instance, like with some of like the shooters who've gotten like the argument of, oh, don't prosecute this person because of this in the
Yeah,
future?
yeah, 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 yeah,
Okay, yeah,
yeah.
I
Now, yeah,
follow.
like those who go
Yeah,
out and
so
kill. And then
so
you're also looking at the serial killer who waits for somebody and then shoots here, then disappears, and then goes and shoots somebody, and then that kind of a person. I- that's why I was asking, in just to understand.
yeah,
Won't you think
so
that they'll be discriminatory at one point? Somebody will come up and say, you cannot say this one is better than this crime. All crimes are all the same. And then
no,
how are we going to,
no, I got you.
best? Mhm.
I got you, and I understand the respects that you're trying to put to the conversation. So definitely, I do believe that all harm and matters, all crime, well, all harms matter. You know what I'm saying? So all harms matter, and I don't believe that anybody supports like personal harm. Nobody supports taking of someone's life or anything else like that. But what I would say is that if we look at the root cause of why that person is behaving the way that they're behaving, right? In most cases, pretty much all cases, like especially like something as egregious as like serial killing, which is on the smaller scale of this statistical spectrum of stuff that actually happens. Um, in most cases, those people are mentally ill, and they're struggling with things that they've been struggling with their whole life, but haven't had you know access to actually addressing them, including being in the culture that says mental illness is okay, get treatment. We have treatment options. You get what I'm saying? So when addressing the root cause, like I said, it's a whole big conversation, including taking those money and resources that we just say, hey, here's $20 billion to policing and, you know, 5.6 million into social services. It's actually taking all the extra money that's going to policing that's just going down the drain while they continue to solve crimes at between 3 and 6% rates per year, and investing that money into stuff that actually has material effects on people's life, including social services, food, mental health care, substance use disorder care, and stuff like that, and creating an environment where folks actually can have access to those types of care and treatment, and feel comfortable doing it. So it's against a whole cultural adjustment and addressing for those issues. And if we do that, what are the odds that you like? We already know the odds of serial killers, like, right? What are the odds that you would actually have folks who continue to go on that line of behavior, right? So it's like I said, it's a holistic approach to investments, community approach, and governmental approach. And it's just like it's just recognizing the fact that like I don't believe anyone is inherently bad. I don't think that no one's born just like a horrible bad person. But I do believe that life experiences, like a lot of other people believe, that life experiences and traumas and mental health issues, will definitely affect people's behavior and intersocial interactions. You get what I'm saying? So, and like I said, I get the whole argument, and trust me, I've been in prison. I was in the worst prison system in America in California, the biggest prison system in America in California. I was always a high level incarcerated person. So like I've been in the SHU, which is a secure housing unit, which is like the jail inside the jail. I've been in the SHU, been in the hole, been in, level 4, 180 design prison, which is the most secure facilities that we have. And, level 4 down to level 3, finally got to level 2 once the realignment, everything happened. They had no lower inmates, so they had to transition us down. So I've seen, folks who I'm like, and one I'm like, when I first, was introduced to the abolitionist community, and I was like having these conversations, same ones like oftentimes a lot of folks bring up, which is perfectly fine and respectable, because you want to know, I was like, how do we, like what this, and I was like, hey, hold on, like I was on the level 4 era, like I was in the shoe with some of these people who were like this dude's a monster, like you like just let everybody go. But then after doing research on abolition, after actually understanding it and understanding, the holistic approach, and actually realizing and thinking about, I thought about, say, hey, why is this person acting like this? This person who I was, in the cell next to or in the cell with, is like, why does this person act like this? And you see that person at night crying, you see the stuff that they go through, you see the issues that they're dealing with. And it's like that person is dealing with trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And that person's dealing with unaddressed issues. And specifically because we're in this environment, this person is acting out in a way in which no human being other than this environment would act, because everybody's scared that you can't turn your back on someone or do something less because someone's going to do harm to you. You know what I mean? So it just, when understanding that and taking into account the totality of where the governmental investments are of our tax dollars that we're forced to pay, so we absolutely have a reason to be in this conversation. You see why a lot of folks behave the way that they behave, and why they're criminalized to continue to behave that way and treated the way that they're treated doing those behaviors.
So when you hear in Dallas, like right now, they have this they've been having this pilot program whereby when a police officer comes in and somebody has an issue with mental health, they would suggest somebody coming there with a mental health expert, just to try and make sure everything is okay. Now, we don't have enough people who are dealing with mental health, because some of these cases, you can get somebody in the middle of the night. You cannot, a police being called out is not something that you can time and say, hey, I'm going to call you at this time and at this particular time. However, they're trying to bring those amends to whereby if somebody is in dire straits, and especially when they have issues with mental health, a mental health expert is called to accompany the police and go out there and help out, just to avoid situations like, say, for example, a guy may be holding a gun, and you know how things go, right? Do you think, in your opinion, as the movement, that could be one of the steps that is moving positively towards getting that? Because a life saved at that point would stop the person from getting to be incarcerated, because at that time they could be in a bad state. And we've
Yeah.
had incidences where one was killed. I think there's a case going on with somebody who was allegedly killed in the police cell because of that. And some of them we've seen who have been shot. But now, if they have that mental health expert, that kind of alleviates that problem. Is that situation, when you look at it and say, okay, this is one of the steps that could be working, in your opinion?
Yeah, so we've seen a lot of unarmed crisis response programs around the nation
Uh-huh.
that's getting started. Most of them are pilot programs, and folks are, just kind of get them going in response to just the community outrage and public outrage. And I think that, that's trending definitely toward the right direction. I think it's helpful for sure. I mean, eventually, I'm sure we'd like to see it. I'm sure a lot of us, because communities have been asking for it as well. I'm sure a lot of us would like to see it to where it gets to the point to where, you pick up the phone and call for your family member who's going through a psychotic episode or mental state or something like that, and you don't have to worry about, am I going to get my family member hurt or unalive because I'm calling for some type of help, right? And so that's something that the community wants, and I know we've even heard from a lot of officers, with respect to them, who say, hey, we shouldn't be doing this job of counselor and mental health worker because we're not trained to do it, and they don't want that responsibility. And it's understandable they shouldn't have to do that. So yeah, is that trending in the right direction, to answer your question? Yeah, I believe it's trending in the right direction. I believe that's helpful. I'm not one of these philosophical people who's willing to die on the sword and say, like, no, it's all or nothing. Like, no, that's good. It's working toward the goal. and it's helpful. I think we, as a society, I think we're smart enough, and I think we're well funded enough to eventually get to a place to where, um, you know, armed police don't really have to respond to, pretty much hardly anything really in the community, because oftentimes it just makes it a lot worse, especially with like domestic situations, especially with family situations, because it's just the way that they've been trained, and the culture has been ingrained. It's a macho ego thing. It's you're gonna listen to me or else, regardless of whether I'm right or not, regardless of whether I'm following the law or not. And oftentimes, some folks just need somebody to listen to them. I had a conversation today with my younger brother who's going through some stuff.
Mhm.
He got into an accident and was assaulted by another driver, and um, instead of the police responding with care, they accused him of being under the influence, and arrested both he and the other driver for under the influence,
Mhm.
even though he passed all of the field sobriety tests. And my brother called me, he's yelling, he's freaking out. I'm like, bro, just relax. And I'm like, relax. Um, and then I thought it was something that had happened, like a day or so ago. And he was like, bro, this just happened like today. And I'm like, oh, well, you know what? I apologize. Like, get it out, because you need a vent.
Mhm.
I would feel the same way if you absolutely in the right, and you come up and all of a sudden you're getting criminalized. Now you got a new case, and now they put this bogus case on you to where the insurance company now has an out to like not take care of your bills and stuff that's coming up. Like,
Mm.
I'm like, get it off, get it out. You know what I mean? Like, you're absolutely right and justified to feel how you feel. But that's the culture. It's like, if you're not shutting up, sit down on the curb and being respectful, yes or no, sir, then I'm gonna just treat you the way I want you and do whatever I want, because there's no accountability. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I think we can get to a place um, where you know um, police aren't responding to pretty much very few, if any, things in our communities, and we can get to a place where we have community accountability, as well as we can get to a place where when folks are in need and need help or going through stuff, that they can actually have access to it, meaningful access to it, uh, without trouble. Like, for instance, I got like I got like three healthcare insurances,
Mhm.
but even like for me and my wife to get uh, counseling or something like that, you pick up the phone, you go get on the app, get on the Blue Cross app or any app, and you know, how hard is it to get, to get a counselor? You know what I mean? It's like a 6, 7, 8 month wait list. And it's
Oh,
crazy.
really? Okay.
It's crazy to think that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like in California, for instance, in the United States in general, our prison system is the number one provider of mental health care treatment in our nation. So just think about that. Let that sit for a minute.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, we could do better for sure. We have enough money, enough resources, and we could definitely do better.
Definitely. I appreciate you sharing more about the abolition. Did you have another thought, Sambaza?
No, I wanted to say hi to Ed. Ed says,
Oh, yeah.
welcome everybody.
Yo, what up,
Ed
Ed?
says peace family. And
Super
All
chat.
right.
yeah,
What up,
so
Ed?
continue.
Okay.
Go ahead.
For sure. And yeah, so I was wanting you to share about, making those changes when you come out. Like you said, community was really crucial to you. Um, all those things that were like really, whatever resources, if you could just touch on whatever things what added to your success.
Yeah. So, I mean, just being honest, definitely community. Having family support,
Hmm.
and the little resources that was there that I had to kind of I had to manipulate to get. You know what I mean? It's crazy that you got to manipulate in order to be successful and do right, but that's just how our society is designed. But so being able to go like into a halfway house, which is basically like a sober living environment, because I didn't want to like be one of those guys who get out and I got to live on someone's couch, and um, be like an inconvenience, or get that whole middle of the night thing. You got to go, like I don't want to, be in that situation. So I took it upon myself to go to a halfway house, which I had to, again, you know, not having a substance use disorder. They basically had to make up one to get me in there, which was like alcohol and marijuana, even though I hadn't used them or even done it in like, since prior to incarceration, because there isn't places where it's like like the federal system, where you just get out and go to this halfway houses, which a lot of cases those halfway houses are horrible. But so I didn't go somewhere just for housing because um, I was houseless at the time, of course, paroling after 12 and a half years, and getting out and going there and struggling, um, and doing well there, doing great. Uh, start working, going through all the programs, all the stuff I didn't need, the treatments and stuff, and doing everything. And then, which most people don't want to do because they feel like it's another form of jail, which it is another form of jail in prison. But I took that sacrifice and did it. And then once I got uh, kicked out of that program for doing too well and not having any issues or whatever, I said, well, we want to help some other people. So okay, so then I went to another transitional house, our halfway house sort of living environment, and then did that program well. And fortunately for me, I met my wife, who was also another great person influence in my life and helped a lot and made things a lot easier. And so, she and I were able to, continue to build and to continue to do well and level up and continue our continue to advance our careers. And so definitely community, family, having people who support you, and then also to just being again in the abolitionist environment with folks who are social justice warriors, who are woke, folks who are like, hey, do this, and I'm like, nah. And they're like, why? And I'm like, talk about it, like, hey, you know what? Yeah, okay, cool. Hey, do this, and I'm like, nah. I'm like, why? I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. You know what? Hey, you can do this, and I'm like, me? Like, yeah, I see that for you. You can do that, and I'm like, all right, and it's like having folks that like, going to push you to continue to do better, try new things, and to seek stuff that you don't see for yourself, like being on the board of directors of a prominent, justice reform board in the state, or being on the board of directors for one of the prominent justice reform boards in the nation, taking trips out of state, out of country, being in advocacy, speaking with elected officials, speaking with, advising, lawmakers and other folks, are just doing just such amazing things. I mean, one of my brothers in abolition is the one who recommended that I go back to school and get my bachelor's degree. And I was like, me? Like, nah, I hate school. And then he was like, you should do it. It'll help your career. You can do it for real. You should do it. And I was like, all right. And then I did it, and I got my bachelor's, and then wind up continuing on and earn my master's degree as well, and social justice and community organizing. So, just having community push you and continue to push you and inspire you and challenge you to be better or greater than what you are, is definitely inspirational.
Well, let us, congratulate you on your success with that. I know you mentioned board of director.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you sit on the board. Is that right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I sit on the board of directors for Initiate Justice.
Okay.
Which is it's a great community nonprofit organization, 501c3 org, operating here in California, to advocate for folks who are impacted by incarceration, as well as help them to unlock the power and advocate for themselves, family, and community. And then also, currently work as a community organizer for Initiate Justice Action, our C4 organization. And what we do is work to unlock to advance the political power of people who are impacted by incarceration. So just helping folks with civic engagement, helping folks understand their voting rights, fighting against bad policies, community organizing, power building. And then, by doing all that, we'll be able to help build a powerful voter block of systems impacted folks who are able to change the political power dynamics in California.
Okay. I got a question here though.
Yes, sir.
Because I think we seem to be taking it lightly here, but it's a very serious thing. Looking at the amount of years you spent until you're 31 and a half, I'm looking at that, and most of the guys would be in college at that time doing their degree and graduating and all have all these hooplas in college. And my first question is,
Yeah.
did you ever think about it? Did you ever think that you would be in this position today when you started, when you went in on day one? And right now, when you reflect back at what the time spent and what you've gotten, your bachelor's and master's, do you look at it as a different experience and worthwhile? And how
Yeah.
much weight does it come with? Weight and responsibility it comes with.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I do kind of take it lightly. Um, but I'm just like, a humble person. I was always appreciative, grateful to be here. But no, I don't take it lightly at all. I don't. I never thought that I would, ever be in this position. The position I am, to help folks to help folks advocate for themselves, to just learn about political power dynamics and help try to change a lot of the things that are hurdles, and to help laws have a direct impact on a lot of people's lives, for the positive, for the good. Is I never thought I would be in this position, but I could say that it's something that I wanted on day one. No, day one I remember um, pulling into that prison on that bus, pre-dawn hours, seeing the gun towers, fog, and gates, and just like having tears in my eyes on the bus and being shackled and like, why me? Feeling. But I do remember like the first time I seen like organizers coming in from the streets, folks with like the prison fellowship outreach program or whatever would come in or whatever, and other folks. And the first moment I heard somebody speak about like, oh yeah, I have a number two, I'm formerly incarcerated. I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh, they're like, yeah, you didn't know. Like, yeah, you can come out and get your record expunged and come back in, and you can talk to folks, help and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, and I was like, and then from then on, like I always had a desire to do that. And then anytime it was like any organizing and stuff like that on the inside or trying to organize against laws and stuff like that, I would always be like the outspoken one in person trying to organize folks and fight against it. And in fact, while I was incarcerated, I was one of the first inside organizers for Initiate Justice when it was still like
Okay.
when it was in its infancy stage. So it just it just been kind of trending to this point. And yeah, I'm definitely grateful, humble, and appreciative to just be in these spaces and um, be able to advocate for better solutions, so that way we address and respond well to harms, and we have our communities actually be safer and
Hmm.
better place for our children and family, and um, just a better place for people in general. So
Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm sorry we had to take you off track and talk about the system, but kind of focus on you because I mean you are a good case study, a great one
Hmm.
for people to emulate and look up to, because not many come out there, and especially when they're younger, come out there and get to where you are.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, that was
yeah.
my question.
No, it's all good. Yeah, I kind of, every so often I did, kind of wish, like, man, I wish I went to college when I was younger and stuff, and university, and I could have
Hmm.
been like Jen over there, with a with a frat, or what I'm saying, doing the stomp and all that, and being a Kappa or something, one of the folks or something. I wish I could have had that experience as well, but unfortunately that wasn't
Hmm.
my story. And the good thing about my story is, though, it does. I'm able to help inspire folks in other ways. And
Sure.
like when I go to the halfway houses and stuff, I talk to folks and they tell me I'm an inspiration, or that I encourage them. It makes me feel well when I go back into the prison system with the guys and speak with them, and I'm able to, talk the language and help inspire them as well, give them hope. And they tell me that
Okay.
it makes me feel good. Or even when I go to the women's prison and I speak with those amazing ladies over there,
Hmm.
and help to inspire and talk with them. It makes me feel good. I mean, a lot of times I leave with tears in my eyes because I want to take them all with me, but it's just it's a constant fight and struggle, and try to
Yeah.
help to
Yeah.
get to a more just system.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Jen, we forgot. I think in the midst of this, we forgot the right to vote.
Well, he spoke on getting his rights
A
back.
little bit,
Yeah,
right? But
so
now,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
the right to
the
vote.
mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the organizations I work for, that's where we're centered around is civic engagement and
Mm-hmm.
fighting to to get voting rights for all here in California, um, especially folks who are impacted by incarceration. So we've done that in a couple ways. One was with Prop 17 in 2020,
Mhm.
which we helped get passed, that restored voting rights to more than like 56,000 people on parole in California. And
Oh,
when
wow.
that proposition passed in 2020, I got my right to vote back because I was actively on parole at that time, and it felt dope. It
Good.
felt amazing to cast ballots and everything since then. And then also too been actively working to try to restore voting rights to folks who are currently incarcerated and folks are completing their sentences. And unfortunately, that's still an ongoing fight, but it's something that we won't give up on because if we're going to have a society, especially a real democratic society, then every person, um, living and working within that jurisdiction should have the right to vote, including folks who, are currently completing their sentences. Um, and that's a fight that we, continue to fight. We'll always fight. And also, what we do is since we have helped pass Prop 17 is in 2020 is we also follow up on that. So we do other work with like state departments and organizations and making sure that they've updated like the applications, the voter
Mm-hmm.
registration forms, make sure they're updating their signage to let them know that people on parole do have the right to vote. Working with the county jail systems to get voting accessibility to folks who are incarcerated in county jail because they do still have the right to vote, and a lot of people don't realize
Mm-hmm.
that. And they have um, horrible, they have trouble getting access to exercise that right. So we work with them as well, and then we go to like halfway houses, transitional homes, other
Mm-hmm.
reentry spaces, colleges, and stuff like that, and speak with folks who are impacted by incarceration, and
Mm-hmm.
let them know that they do have the right to vote, and try to dispel that misinformation. And then also to break down their ballot, we kind of show them who they'll be voting for. Um, Not who, but we show them what offices will be on the ballot that they'll be voting for. We explain those offices, define them, and let them know what those offices do. And then ultimately, we help them get registered if they choose to. So um, that's something that I'm currently still doing and working on, and
Okay.
it's dope to give those civic engagement presentations and workshops.
I gotta circle back on this one because this is very important. So that Proposition 17 states that um, everyone, whether you are incarcerated and when you come out, you should be able to vote
No, Prop 17, what it did was it restored voting rights to folks who were on parole.
on
So
parole.
prior to Proposition 17, folks that are on parole, like for instance myself, I had finished my sentence. So in California, so probably need a little bit background on it. So in California, the parole system is not like it is in other states.
Okay.
In California, the parole system is an additional sentence. So in other states, like if you get sentenced to a prison term, you'll probably do like a certain amount of time in prison. Like if you get probably like 7 years, you'll probably do like 1 or 2 years, and you'll go to the parole board, and they'll release you early, and then you'll do the rest of it on parole until they let you go and discharge you. Well, in California, if you get sentenced to like 7 years, you'll do like 6.5 in prison, and then you do an additional sentence of like up to 4 to 5 years extra on parole, which is ridiculous. Another thing that needs to be abolished, but um, and so under our constitution previously, be doing the tough on crime wave and stuff like that, and sorry, not before tough on crime wave, doing the again the once chattel slavery was abolished and stuff like that back then, and restructuring, they passed an amendment to ban voting rights from folks on parole. And so what Prop 17 did was it restored those voting rights to folks on parole. So folks who are on parole um, have the right to vote. Folks who are in county jail, if they're like in pretrial detention, They have the right to vote. Folks
Okay.
who are serving their sentences in county jail, they have the right to vote. The only people who do not have the right to vote right now, currently in California, is folks who are still completing their sentences in prison.
Mhm.
Don't have the right to vote.
So once you get out of prison, you should be able to vote. And this goes, is this state, it's different via every state,
Every
Right.
or,
state,
Yeah.
but every state, well, let me put it like this. As it is, if you say that in California, no, because most states replicate the same issue, unless some small agenda may be there. All persons that have been incarcerated and have been released from jail and are out there with a record should be able to vote.
you should be able to vote. Yeah, in certain states, it's not the case. Like we see, like Florida, where they passed an amendment, or they passed a bill, whatever, and it was revocated by the people and it became law to where it restored voting rights to most folks who are from incarcerated in Florida. And then you got like Rob DeSantis. He just with a whip of a pen took that away. Happened in a couple other states. But let me get you this. There is 2 states in the United States in which people who are currently incarcerated can vote in. What 2 states do you think those are?
I know,
You said
it in Texas.
Definitely
I'm
not
gonna
Texas.
say Missouri. You can't vote neither.
It's the 2 most whitest states in America.
Mississippi. Yeah.
Nah,
Maine,
it's got to be north.
yeah, Maine,
Yep,
and I think
Delaware,
Rhode Island.
Rhode
I think
Island.
those are the 2 states. Those
Oh,
are the 2
okay, that's
states.
good to know.
It's the 2 most whitest states because, again, when it's, they didn't have the black problem or other problems, so they didn't restrict folks' rights.
Okay,
Okay.
well, that's nice to know because we're going to get into talking about voting sometime in the near future, and when we talk about that, I think that's going to come up in some stories that we're talking about. So that's why I was kind of inquiring more about what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. You already told us about your activism, advocacy work related to prison reform and criminal justice. What message would you give the policymakers regarding the future of the prison system?
I
How
would
would
say
you
that,
envision the prison system to be? Like maybe.
yeah. So, I mean, I would say that care, like, there's no such thing as care in cages. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if you, want to return good citizens to society, if you want thriving communities with folks who feel impacted and, with folks who feel like they're part of the community, who are able to work, live, and thrive, and feel comfortable with it, and have families and pay taxes and live a life. Cages isn't it? You know what I mean? Putting folks on the island, put them in caste systems, and treating them horribly and telling them that they're going to be horrible for the rest of their lives, and they're not going to mean anything, their kids are not going to mean anything, or that they're not useful to society is not going to accomplish that. So I would advise a lot of elected officials to rethink who their advisors are on public safety policy, and to really get connected with a lot of grassroots organizations who are actually doing the work. Go take some trips behind prison walls and talk to folks and see what they actually want, what they're actually doing, and not believe the headlines. Don't believe the folks from these affluent communities who never really had any interactions and only advocate for their families. Actually go in there and experience it and see. And you'll see like all the amazing people there. You'll see the people who've been unfortunate, the people who are struggling with things, the people who just want resources, the folks who just want to work, the folks who want to, do good and be a part of society. And so definitely, rethink advisors, rethink consultants, and get tapped in with some grassroots organizations who are really doing the work and who really have answers and life experience to advise your public policy.
Because I'm from Kenya, so when we have our prison system, there have been a lot of reforms, but we can't compare with the U.S. because your system is like top notch. Even though you're behind walls, I mean, there's really a big disparity. on that. Like you talk about halfway houses, there's nothing like the halfway houses. You go straight from in back home. Um, Clothes, stuff. I mean, beds. They just started making the reform, changing, making reforms and making it a bit more humane. I mean,
Yeah,
before back
Okay.
then when I was growing up, being in prison was nothing. You would get like the worst of the worst. Now it's much better. They have made some changes. They get blankets, they get stuff, but it still needs improvement. And I'm
yes.
glad that when what you don't. I don't know if you don't realize, but when you start talking about reform over here and talk about this reform as you might be here, it really does resonate and goes out to the
Oh
world,
yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
people tend to hear about it, and they're like, okay, fine. If they're being treated
Oh
like that in
yeah.
the US and much better, and there's TV, people watch TV and stuff like that, it does help.
Oh
So
yeah.
from me to you, I want to thank you for putting it up there and
Yes.
trying to make these reforms work. Because remember,
Definitely.
it just starts with the
Absolutely.
idea. Once you plant that seed, it'll spread out. And who
Absolutely.
knows, 10 years from now, we could be looking at your template and say, why can't we replicate it out there to the rest of the world?
No, absolutely. I mean, America sets the standard. Um, uh, it's unfortunate. There's a lot of problematic people who are benefiting financially and
Mhm.
career wise from it, so they keep it going. But definitely, we set the standard, and one thing about like abolitionists and other social justice warriors, we truly believe in certain sayings, and like one of them is like, none of us are free until all of us is free. Fannie Lou Hamer's saying,
Mhm.
and others. So if there's one person behind bars, then all of us are behind bars, because by the state exacting that state violence from that one person is going to affect our whole community. Because if that one person comes home and they're not, they haven't been invested in, they haven't been treated properly, they haven't been humanized, then it's going to have that same negative traumatic effect on the community at large. So no one's free till everybody's free, and we as social justice warriors and as just community members, should definitely care, and we should be involved in this process and having these conversations, even though some of them are uncomfortable and we're constantly
Right.
learning. And we should force the people that we elect to do the right thing instead of doing what's easy and most harmful to our communities.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us. Is there anything else you want to share, um, or how people can reach out to you?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me. I am Jay DeAndre on the screen. Common spelling J DeAndre on all platforms, Instagram, and also too, if you want to follow the work of like IJ Action, you can follow IJ Action on Instagram, and
Okay.
that is the letter I, the letter J underscore the word action on Instagram, and follow Initiate Justice on
Mhm.
Instagram, and just follow and see the work that we're doing. Subscribe to the email list and support in that manner. And just like Sambaza said, like it's gonna continue to spread as a whole movement, and we do
For
like
sure.
supporting other social movements as well. So just appreciate y'all, appreciate the conversation,
For
and
sure.
iron
Anytime.
sharpens iron. So anytime we can pour into each other and build, I'm down for it.
Definitely. Okay. Well, we're definitely salute the work you're doing. Please continue it. The fact that you're helping folks out there, touches our heart, and we appreciate that.
And thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate the community, community of abolitionists, social justice warriors, other folks, and supporters and allies. Really appreciate y'all and continue to pour into folks and let's build community.
For sure. Okay, today you have a good one. We will be in touch.
All right. Bye bye, y'all.
All
All
right.
right.
That's what
Let's see. And we will. Okay. And then, so Baza, did you have any other thoughts?
No, hey, I said bye, and hey, as usual, I gotta wave the Kenyan flag to say goodbye. And hey, it was nice talking to you, Jay Andre, and
you too.
I
You
wish you
see,
well.
I got my American diaspora flag right there. I got to get
Oh,
on that.
that's what's up.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
what's up.
I got, and then
Ooh,
I got my all money in flag right there. But yeah,
Oh, there you go.
I
There
gotta
you
get
go.
my Nigerian flag, so eventually I'll get it.
Don't forget to add the Kenyan one there too.
Yeah, I get the other too.
So it was nice meeting you, and pleasure to enlighten me and to the rest of the world. And I wish you all the best in whatever is out there in your future.
Yes, sir. Same to you, brother. All love and
All right.
appreciate you. Appreciate the conversation. Much love.
For sure. All right, guys. And we appreciate you joining us. Hopefully, you found today's conversation has inspired and enlightened you. Please share, like, subscribe if you made it this far, and stay tuned for more engaging content. And with that, we are out. Take care. At this time, we're going to go ahead and conclude the episode. We greatly appreciate you listening. We invite you to follow us on social media. On Instagram, it is Woke by Accident Podcast. On Twitter, it is Woke by. On Facebook, it is Woke by Accident Podcast. We also have the new website up, www.wokebyaccident.net. Please check us out. And also follow us on all of your favorite streaming platforms. And please leave a review and share feedback. You can also reach out by Gmail, wokebyaccident@gmail.com. And every time you listen, we appreciate it so much. Thank you for listening and take care.